It's a great thing to have when trying to market like a data center or an IT company. It's a wonderful tool for them to come in and say, wow, you have fiber optics wired in this park or this business center.
Hello and welcome to episode 166 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. This is Lisa Gonzalez. This week, Chris interviews Jason Gray, Interim Director of Utilities for the city of Danville, Virginia. This is a return visit for Jason, who last spoke with us in 2012. And Danville, the city's open access fiber network, has been offering better connectivity to the community for years. We've documented a few of the many economic development wins attributed to their network, and in this interview, Jason provides a few more examples. Jason and Chris also discuss the city's incremental approach, the residential expansion, and some of the challenges the city has faced as it sought to add service providers to the network. Jason offers some tips on dig once and marketing efforts based on lessons learned in Danville. We bring you focused, specialized information on municipal networks with no annoying advertisements. There are very few places you can find the in-depth discussions we offer on the Community Broadband Bits podcast. We go the extra mile to bring you important, engaging material that mainstream media typically ignores. Please take a moment to support our work at muninetworks.org or ilsr.org. Click Donate and contribute any amount. Now here are Chris and Jason Gray from Danville, Virginia.
Welcome to another edition of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. I'm Chris Mitchell, and today I'm speaking with Jason Gray once again. Jason Gray is the Interim Director of Utilities in Danville, Virginia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you back on. You were one of our early guests. You and I spoke into a microphone right there in Danville as part of the very first Economic Development Muni Network Summit sponsored by Broadband Communities. So it's great to have you back on the show.
Yes, that was about 3 years ago that the Broadband Communities had a conference here in Danville, and we were glad to host it and be a part of it.
Why don't you tell our listeners who aren't familiar where Danville is and a little bit of the background of the In Danville project?
Danville is located in southern Virginia, right on the North Carolina Virginia border. It's in the middle of the state, about 2 hours from Roanoke, an hour from Lynchburg, but about 4 hours from Washington, D.C. So we're centrally located on the southern portion of Virginia. We're historically a textile and tobacco town, which that industry has left the country or died off, but we're looking to diversify our future industries and recruit new business to Danville and provide jobs for our citizens here.
Danville has one of the more interesting approaches, I think, because I remember thinking when I first started working in this field in 2007, Danville, you're doing this thing, it's incremental, but, it's going to take you forever. And, you've moved on, you've been expanding the network. It's very impressive. Why don't you tell us how it got started and your basically the way that you operate the network?
In Danville is the name of the network. It's short for Network Danville, but we actually built the majority of the network in 2004 and to serve our own city government buildings and locations and city schools. The city schools are separate from the city government, so we generate revenue through connections that we provide them. But over the years, we've just expanded it through capital projects. In 2007, we started wiring our industrial parks for economic development purposes and to help attract industry to Danville. Later on in 2012, we started doing a residential project. We tried to do one earlier in 2009 and actually go out for a substantial loan to do a mass area, but City Council was hesitant about jumping in that far with the unknowns of the market. We're a utility that offers electricity, water, gas, and being in the telecommunications business, you have competition with the incumbents, and They knew that there was some risk there as far as take rate, customer sign-ups, and so we wanted to go about it in a little bit more conservative manner and build as we have revenue.
And I think one of the benefits of your network and your cautious, incremental type approach has been that there's been low risk, and in fact, every year the utility's been contributing back into the general fund. What was that amount?
We contribute roughly $300,000 towards the city's general fund. On top of the allocations, we pay for services that the general fund pays offers as well on top of that general fund contribution. So the fund is completely self-sufficient, doesn't require any loans or subsidization from any other funds. It did start off with a loan from the electric fund, but was paid back with interest. But since then, the telecommunications fund has operated fully based on revenues generated from connections to businesses and residential customers. That's the neat thing about the project, is that we've never had to go out for loans or money to pay debt service.
And I think one of the things you mentioned was the desire to really increase economic development. What has been some of the impact of having the fiber on economic development in Danville? Current
business has been able to expand, and some of them have been able to be backup data centers for their corporate headquarters. It's a service that we're providing here in town that a lot of the incumbents can't because they don't have the infrastructure now. It's an attraction when economic development goes out, and it's one less thing that we can check off on our list that we do have broadband, and we have scalable broadband that we can offer many different tiers of services, whatever basically the company needs, and we can partner with middle mile and other kind of networks to get them a connection to wherever in the world they need to be connected to. But it's a great thing to have when trying to market like a data center or an IT company. It's a wonderful tool for them to come in and say, wow, you have fiber optics wired in this park or this business center.
I seem to remember that you have had investment from China, you've had investment from Cray Supercomputer, you've had investment from consultants that have that set up in that area. You have just all kinds of businesses, and even your network has helped local dentists to expand their operations, as I understand it.
We have companies from all over the globe here in Danville, Sweden, Germany, India, China, a lot of different countries, some based on our broadband capabilities, but some because of other reasons. But one that you did mention was the Cray supercomputer that requires a very high level of broadband in order to be able to function and to process data and to get it transmitted. So that was an attraction for that company to locate here.
Great. It's one of the things that people often ask me when I'm recommending incremental solutions, which I, as I was saying a little bit earlier, I do often because I recognize that this sort of, go big or go home kind of thing, it may sound nice, but a lot of communities have ended up not doing anything because they only looked at how they could do something really big. And so I think Danville is one of my best examples where we've seen incremental, low risk investments paying off. You've begun expanding into the residential area, and about how many households can access your network now?
We've passed over 2,500 customers. The city has 26,000 houses in the city limits. But we've passed 2,500, and we're incrementally stepping that up each year because revenues are increasing as we pass more homes and connect more businesses. Our contractors are doing all the installations. We're not having to hire a large staff to be able to manage this. We have a staff of 3 people to manage a 175 route mile network. So it's very efficient and lean as far as management goes.
And one of the things that I don't think we've mentioned yet is that you operate on an open access basis where the city does not directly provide services and your utility does not directly provide services, but you have private service operators that are able to deliver services using your network.
That's correct. We have a very active local service provider that was here before in Danville, but they have really benefited from in Danville's expansion, and they're offering triple play. The company's called Gamewood, and they offer TV, telephone, and internet at different. The internet speeds are at different tiers. We've also been able to attract other providers from outside of Danville here to offer services. Right now, they're just looking at business offerings, but as soon as we probably pass more customers, they'll be offering residential. That requires more staffing locally, more costs for maintenance to be able to maintain a large customer base. So once we pass more customers, I think those other two providers that we have will look at offering residential service.
Gamewood service provider, when I look at what's available, I was just kind of curious if your network technically is limited to 100 meg or if you can go up to a gig, because it wasn't clear how high capacity services, at what level your sort of network tops out. And so I was curious if you could just tell us a little, for the technical geeks among us.
We deploy Calyx E7 gear, which is 10 gig rings with GPON customer interfaces. So the GPON is 2.5 gig down, 1.25 up, and it's split between 32 connections. So you can oversubscribe one customer over the other. And we do have active connections as well, active Ethernet connections that are point-to-point that can range from 50 meg all the way up to 10 gig.
Right. So the GPON standard is actually what we see in a lot of places that are actively marketing a symmetrical gig. So I know that some of that gets into oversubscription, and some people who are purists, they'd like to maybe say that direct, the point-to-point is better. But fundamentally, what you're telling me is that your network can basically do what any other network can do.
Right. For residential, we're deploying GPON, but for most businesses that have higher demands, we're doing point-to-point.
With the service providers, I'm very curious, and you and I have talked about this before. It seemed like you need a minimum of 1,000 subscribers before you can really try and get interest from more than one service provider on the network. Can you just walk us through what any challenges are, maybe unexpected difficulties in terms of attracting more service providers to a fiber network like yours?
The network operator needs to have a TV provider or a triple play provider in order to do residential, and a residential service provider that's offering triple play needs to have at least 1,000 customers pass in order to market to, in order to justify providing those services. So it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. Yeah, it was a challenge. It was very helpful having a very active local service provider here that was already offering some of those services, but now that we've passed that hurdle and have passed 2,500 homes, we're past that point. But when you offer residential service, you have to have more staff and be able to respond to calls and installations and things like that. So it's more cost to a service provider to do residential rather than business installations.
And when you have a service provider, how much do they pay to access a customer? Is that a set fee, like on a schedule, or is it a percentage of the revenue?
It's a percentage of the revenue, and it's based on their gross revenue of that particular customer. And we don't start making money until that customer's connected and they're paying the service provider. So we don't actually bill the end customer. We bill the service provider for their list of customers and their list of services. So our customers are the service providers' customers are the actual users, the business owners, the residentials.
And when you're looking to add new service providers, is there like a trade show that you go to meet them, or do you just, have somebody that's occasionally calling up potential service providers? How do you make a connection to attract someone to your network?
We used to have organized meetings periodically throughout the year with local providers, regional providers, to see if there was any interest. We wouldn't go to a trade show because more than likely to get a big provider to come to Danville would be very costly. But we're looking for the regional, local ones that are within less than 100 miles away that could easily come to our community to serve our customers. But a lot of times, once you've connected a few businesses and your people know what you're doing, they find you. Once you have that one and you start offering service, then a few others take notice and then they want to join in too.
So there again, you have the chicken and the egg problem of trying to get the first one might be really challenging if you don't have a local ISP already operating in town that wants to work with you.
That's the first step, is to find the one, and hopefully there was one that's local. But we were very lucky to have Gamewood, who is local to Danville and very active.
So let's talk about sort of planning for the future, and I'm curious about the sort of dig once or conduit type approaches where, since you know that ultimately you'd like to have fiber out to everyone in the town, if you might be laying conduit or fiber in one area of town in conjunction with some other project that's going on, maybe a water project or something like that, even though you can't serve them for several years. Do you do that sort of thing?
We do. We keep HDPE conduit, and when we install new electric service, we always put in a small 3/4 inch fiber conduit, because a ditch is open. We can go ahead and just put it in. Same thing with the business. If there's new services being put in on the electric side, we'll go ahead and put a fiber conduit in. Even though we're not pulling the cable in, we'll have the conduit there for future use. So those are things that we take advantage of.
So if there's a new development going in, then you wouldn't necessarily require the developer to put in a bunch of conduit when they're building it. You would put it in as part of your electrical setup at the same time.
We would coordinate it with the electric, and actually, give you an example, we have had a condominium complex go in. It's 4 per unit, and it's 36 total, but we've actually supplied their contractor with a reel of HDPE conduit, fiber conduit, and they've put it in as they put the electric service in. And we're actually connecting that complex. It's one of our target communities, but we actually coordinated that with the contractor, and they put it in as they're building the units. Our electric crews will also help coordinate with any new businesses that come up. They'll work with the local contractor, construction company that's building that company, and we'll get the contractor to come pick up the rail conduit, and they'll put it in for us, and then we'll go pick it up and bring it back. But it takes a little bit of coordination, but it's nice to have that conduit there for future use, so you don't have to dig up a parking lot or locate utilities that's already there.
One last question that I should have asked earlier was, you're passing 2,500 folks. What is your current take rate among the people that can take service?
It's roughly 20%. We forecasted what our take rate, what we thought it would be, or what we would like it to be. We would envision any new community to have a 20% take rate year one. After construction's finished, and then the year after that, we would have 20% of those customers sign up for service, and then after that, 5% per year after that. So we've been hitting those numbers pretty well.
I think it's interesting, because if I had to guess, you have a situation where, a lot of people probably aren't even aware of what services are there necessarily. They're getting flyers from Comcast in the mail and the telephone company, but they probably aren't as aware of your service. But then over time, I think there's something, maybe you add another service provider or something, and it catches wildfire. And I think you'll see a sudden surge in signups.
Marketing is a key component that a lot of communities may overlook. We've had to do a lot of marketing ourselves, and communication. We've done community meetings that have been well received. If we're building into a new neighborhood, they'll have a local neighborhood committee, and we'll meet with them and answer any questions that they may have. Are we going to hit their sprinkler lines, or things like that, or can we coordinate with them when we're installing the new infrastructure? But marketing when you're building into a new neighborhood, and then after you're finished, is key, because if people don't know why you're there or what you're doing and what their offerings are, it's going to be hard for them to find out information. So communication and marketing are key.
Right. Yeah, that's what we've found as well. It's it can be a challenge because some people they may not go to the meetings. They may not even, check out local news. So it's always a challenge. And that's why I think it takes a while when you start offering a service for word of mouth to get around, and people are thinking, wow, I'm sure glad I'm not on Comcast anymore. And their neighbors might be thinking, oh, wow, well, I didn't even know that we had another option. So
that's right. Word of mouth is the best marketing tool, but direct mailings and letters, and then of course the community meetings are also effective, but they don't beat word of mouth marketing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and updating us on how things are going.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Learn more about the network at ndanville.com, and be sure to check out the Danville tag at muninetworks.org for our stories. Please continue to send us your ideas for the show. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CommunityNets. Thank you, BKFM B-Side, for your song, Raise Your Hands, licensed through Creative Commons. Thanks for listening and have a great day.